Hey everybody, wanted to show you guys a part of our food system here at home. Earlier today, Ash and I went to our favorite grocery store and we did a big grocery haul, about $180, of which $70 was honestly just all meat product. What you see here is about 70 bucks worth of meat. And this is well over a few weeks, if not a couple of months worth of meals here for us. This is 10 pounds of ground beef, several chicken breasts, some ground pork, and some ground turkey meat. And what I'm gonna do is actually break this down now and show you how we get it ready for the freezer. Easiest one to do is take these two, and I'm actually not even gonna break these two down. These are getting made into a different recipe. I'm gonna be making some homemade breakfast sausage with these. They're going right back into the fridge because I'll be making that recipe either tonight or tomorrow. So they're ready to go. Which leaves the chicken breasts. These are boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and the 10 pounds of ground beef, ground hamburger here. So, easy thing to do is we're gonna start with this, this chicken. Now, the big trick here, anytime you're processing any kind of raw meat in a kitchen, you wanna be very clean. So I've cleaned the countertop. I've got a separate kind of cutting board surface here to make sure that anything that spills onto this. All the meat's gonna get set in a tray, so that way none of the juices, nothing gets contaminated here. Because the last thing you wanna do is get something contaminated and stored in your freezer. What I'm gonna do with this though is there are 4 chicken breasts here. I'm gonna take 2 of them out and put them into a food saver bag, seal the bag, and freeze them. The other 2 are actually gonna be for dinner tomorrow night. So they are gonna go into a Ziploc bag and get stored in the fridge for 1 day. It's really nice when you have a helper in the kitchen who can reach for and grab things when you forget them. Thank you. That was Ash off the camera helping me out here. Actually, could you open that one even for me? I'm trying to keep one clean hand and one raw hand here, again, to try to reduce how much cross-contamination happens. So 1 and 2, and that is gonna be for a wonderful chicken, potato, and tomato bake tomorrow night for dinner. Other 2 here are going into a food saver bag. We buy bulk rolls of this material and cut and seal our own bags. Chicken goes in. Get that out of the way. Here is our food saver. This is a vacuum sealer. Flip the bag over, make sure it's inserted well. Big trick is making sure everything seals properly. Set to normal. I'm gonna set this to moist because obviously it is raw chicken, it's a little moist, and hit the vacuum seal function. And there we go. We have a wonderful sealed package of 2 raw chicken breasts. I'm gonna set this off to the side and I will show you how I take care of the ground beef next, after a small intermission of washing my hands. All right, and we're back. I have washed my hands. When you're processing raw meat, you can't wash your hands too many times. Better safe than sorry. I've also gone and switched out my subsurface here, because if any chicken got on this, I don't want it getting onto the ground beef we're about to work with. So what we've got here is a 10-pound bag of ground beef. We really like buying ground beef in this form because it does save us money. Depending on the market value for beef, it varies how much money it saves you, and depending on the market, it also has changed beginning of the year, we could buy 10 pounds of ground beef for $40. This time of the year, it's closer to $50. So over 12 months, we've seen about a $10 increase. From what I understand globally, that's what's been going on. And depending on your exact market, it might even be more or might be a little bit less. But on a whole, if we were to buy pre-portioned ground beef in 10-pound quantities from the grocery store, we could easily be paying $70, if not more. So the bulk purchase is a really nice way to save some money. But it does mean you've got to process it yourself once you get home. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be splitting this into 3 packs of 2 pounds and 4 packs of 1 pound increments. And the only way to do this is really to rip the bag open and get your hands in there. If you are squeamish about working with raw meat, this is probably the time to get over it. Working with ground meat is probably the easiest way to get over it. It's not for everybody, but if you do like eating meat, I do suggest you get over handling it and learn to break stuff down and process it in some regard yourself, because it is A, cost effective, and B, a deeper connection with the food you eat is, in my opinion, something that's super important. So I would suggest you learn how to do this kind of stuff, and you might find it very fulfilling. All right, so the other things that are important for this process are a kitchen scale. We've got one here that works both in ounces and in grams. We're gonna be doing this in, like I said, pounds. So we set it for the ounces, and I've got just a simple, clean Tupperware here that's gonna hold the product as I'm working with it. I'm gonna tear that off, zero the scale. The other thing I've got here too is a clean cooking tray. As I weigh things out into portions, I'm just going to set them in the cooking tray here until I'm ready to then put them into the vacuum bags and seal them. And I think what we're gonna start with is 2 pound increments. Now this scale actually maxes out at, I believe it's a pound and a half. So I'm gonna have to do this kind of in 1 pound increments and then just double up for the 2 pound bags I wanna make. But there's 14 ounces, 14 and a half ounces, 19. You eventually get an eye for weighing this out. So there's 16 ounces or 1 pound. $13. Cool, there's another 16 ounces. So there is my first chunk of 2 pounds of ground beef, and actually you're going to save that. That's actually for dinner tonight. We're gonna be making some shepherd's pie in a little bit here. So we're gonna do that again. 2 pounds, 13 ounces, 15.6. There's 16. Three ounces, 14.3. 16 again, so that's another 2 pounds. Unfortunately, I've got to get both of my hands kind of in here to deal with this, so before vacuum sealing everything, I will give my hands a thorough washing. There's another 16 ounces. For those of you who might not know, 16 ounces is a pound. The math is easier in grams, but our brains, when it comes to cooking, don't always work that way. And there we go, another 16. So that is my, so I've got 3 piles of 2 pounds of ground beef now. Kind of see that. And now what I'm gonna do is 4 piles of 1 pound. We find the 2 pounds are really good for big bakes like chilies or shepherd's pies. And then 1 pound increments are really nice for us when we do taco night. So there's another 16. It's another 16. See, once a little practice, you actually get pretty good at eyeballing out your weights. Another 16. This is the part I always find really fascinating because in theory, I should have 9 pounds of ground beef on my tray here, and I've got 1 chunk left in the bag, and it looks much bigger than 1 pound to me, and I'm curious how much it's off by. Oh, my scale is actually telling me, try that again, that I have 22 ounces of ground beef here, which means they sold us more than 10 pounds of ground beef, which is kind of nice because extras are always better. But what I'm going to do is, so we've got a difference of 6 ounces, which works out really well. So I'm going to take 2 ounces off, add that back to one of my piles, take another 2 ounces off, add that back, and now we're going to take probably about 1 ounce off. There we go. So now I've got 4 piles that are all kind of around the 17.5 ounces. So just a little over a pound, which is really nice because that's going to make for some really good dinners. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands again and we're going to get on to sealing this up. All right, so got clean hands again and we're ready to get on to sealing all of this beef. So again, we've got our preformed vacuum bags. And I'm now going to, again, try really carefully at this point to keep 1 clean hand and 1 raw hand. So I'm going to take this first pound and get it in the bag. Set that off to the side. I'm going to process all of these bags first and then seal them in the vacuum. So we've got all of our ground beef now in bags. It hasn't been sealed yet. We ended up pulling a second 2 pounds out of the pack because we're gonna make 2 batches of shepherd's pie tonight, 1 for dinner and 1 for a freezer meal. What I'm gonna do now is take these bags and I'm just going to try to make the meat inside the bag a little bit more uniform. It'll make for better freezing, but more importantly, it'll make it easier for this to defrost when it comes time to cook these during the week or weekend or whenever we decide to use this. So I'm just trying to get everything a little flatter, a little bit more even. And now, got our food saver on the same settings as before, normal vacuum, moist food because it's raw meat. Get that into sealer, make sure it locks down, and vacuum seal. All right, you guys don't need to watch me do all of these bags, so I will check in once everything is sealed. And with that, the last bag is sealed. And now for what might be one of the most important parts about food saving and storing away food in your freezers. So we've got 4 1-pound bags of ground beef, all sealed, 1 2-pound bag of ground beef sealed, and we also from earlier have our 2 chicken breasts sealed. What's really important now is to label everything. So, ground beef, 2 pound, and the date, December 4, 21. So now we know when we put this in the bag and when it went in the freezer. When you go back through your freezer and you start pulling out meat to eat, you want to start with whatever's oldest and eat to the freshest. Eventually meat, even perfectly vacuum sealed, does go bad in a freezer. At bare minimum, you get freezer burn, you could get spoilage, and heaven forbid you lose power for long enough and your freezer defrosts, things can go and spoil. So dates are really important. Also, just telling you what it is, really important. We have other ground meats in our freezer, pork, turkey, bear, that some of them look very similar to this. So clear labeling helps you identify what you're looking for. So I'm gonna do that for all of these packages. Chicken, 2 breasts, and the same date, December 4, 21. All right, guys, I hope you found that helpful. Hope you learned something, and we will see you the next time. Bye-bye.